Welcome to Crash Course of International Political Economy. My name is Indira.
I'm Caroline.
I'm Jessa.
And I'm Rayi.
In this video, we would like to explain to you about global trade relations.
This will be a short introduction on trade relations. So the word trade has been heating arguments since the early ages. Meanwhile, free trade has been prominent since the 1700s, while trade of conflicts are already prominent since the Middle Ages. So typically from trade there can arise two polarizing views. On one hand, many parties argue that trade is beneficial as it brings wealth and it boosts the economy. Meanwhile, the other view is usually unfavorable because it threatens the domestic products and companies. So usually these two views are in the form of trade liberalization and trade protectionism.
Now I'm going to explain about the trade theories. The first one was the liberalists. The ideas of Adam Smith and David Ricardo are still central to liberalism. Ricardo's theories of opportunity cost also contribute to the liberalism. The second one was realists. Trade is more of a competition, where states compete to increase export and decrease imports. And the last one was historical materialists. Some also go further by asserting that developed countries under the less developed countries or prevent them from achieving genuine autonomous development.
Britain lowered its import duties in 1815 and opened its border to food imports by repealing its corn law in 1846. Britain then signed a treaty with France in 1860 that results in the lowering of trade barriers throughout Europe. Britain's declining hegemony, France's defeat in the Franco-Prussian War, and the 1873 to 1896 caused free trade to decline. Efforts to establish free trade after World War I failed because belligerents of the war suffered from financial obstacles.
So now is the GATT. To avoid the repeating trends of protectionism after World War I, the US and Britain came to discuss bilaterally, and they came up with the Havana Charter. The charter was used to arrange free trade between international trade organizations. However, its establishment was delayed, and in between this delay, an interim act was made, which was the GATT, the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. However, it was significantly more
GATT was more of a club rather than an IO, which makes it easier for members to waive regulation. Because US trade balance was deficit, they began accusing others of unfair trading, which led to unilateral measures taken to ensure free trade. Conflicts are often not resolved through GATT, as it had weak dispute settlement mechanisms. Many wanted to extend the GATT from trading of goods to trading of services and etc.
Principles of the global trade. The first one was the liberalization. An indication of liberalization includes lowering tariffs, establishing non-tariff barriers, such as import tax, second one is the reciprocity. State benefiting from another state trade policies should provide roughly equal benefits. And the third one is the development. As more LDCs join the GATT, more facilitation to them that allow them to diverge them from other principles. And the fourth one was the safeguards. States are allowed to occasionally raise imports duties during critical times to protect domestic competitions. And the last one was non-discrimination. Treatment towards all members of the GATT should be the same, and treatment towards imported goods must be the same with the domestic goods.
To overcome the weaknesses of GATT, many countries have proposed to restore and replace the informal GATT to WTO. World Trade Organization is a formal and legal institution for trade, formed in 1995 based on the 5 principles of global trade regime. After WTO was formed, GATT has reverted back to its original status as an agreement of trade, followed by several new treaties. There are new treaties negotiated during the Uruguay round. WTO is designed to be more effective and authoritative. Its status is legally comparable to the IMF and World Bank. Its dispute settlement is binding and also has made greater efforts to integrate with developing countries. In addition, WTO also converged the world economy into global trade regime by making more complex with NGOs and civil society groups. This most of which are influenced by the GATT itself, such as difficulty in state cooperation and oppression. But many trade liberalists believe that the influence of WTO is really important in trade. This is because WTO can avoid these states from returning back to protectionism and mercantilism. Also, the GATT members can further renegotiate regarding their agreements in agriculture and services trade. The involvement of WTO in trade is also important for dispute settlement, such as the conflict between EU and the US. And lastly, it is important for the revival of global trade regime in both North and South. In post-war era, only developed countries were heavily involved in trade negotiation. Meanwhile, the LDC had very little role being unrecognized by the GATT. For instance, during the 1960s, many of these LDCs are being colonized and others are still recovering from the imperialism itself. Only until the 1950s that the South became more aware of trade liberalization and become more involved in global trade regime. Up until now, most of southern countries are the primary exporters for raw materials needed for production of goods. However, these countries are still poor in their socio-economic condition. Therefore, most of them are still importing manufactured goods from the northern countries.
Many EU countries wanted to join GATT because of its goal in having universal membership and Western policy differentiation. Poland, Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria joined GATT because of economic decentralization and its declining pace towards market reform. The other reason would be to provide tariff consensus to increase imports. In 1986, China wanted to be a full member of GATT but was never admitted because of its status as LDC and foster parent in implementing agreements, as well as the requirements to liberalize their economy. while Russia is the only economy that is not in the WTO, because Soviet's economic system is considered as an incompatible system with the trade regime principles, and the rise in unemployment and decline in public sector is also one of the factors, followed by the fear of Russia politicizing GATT and resulting difficult trade consensus.
Orthodox liberals believe that free trade based on comparative advantage will have positive effects on the environment for several reasons. Interventionist liberals favored market-based policies but some environmental control as necessary when markets function imperfectly. For example, governments should address the problem of trade in hazardous wastes. Institutional liberals view that the WTO should devote more attention to environmental issues, and that the environment, as well as trade, need global governance. And that's the end of the Global Trade Relations Crash Course. Thank you for watching!